Hello again. So this is part 2 of week 2, and what we're going to discuss today now are interviews. So the important part about interviews basically is that you need to think about what information you're looking for and what information that you know, so that you can ask the questions to get the information that you want. So essentially I'm following along with the PowerPoint. So I'm going to switch now to slide 2. So names are where we're going to start this semester, because something that many students have a difficult time with is how to explain their name, their Korean name, in English. So I think this is the first and most important point, because I had an experience once in Turkey, in Istanbul, which is the largest airport in the world. It was 2016, I believe. And when I went to get on the airplane, I noticed that there were 3 young Korean guys, probably first year university. And what had happened is that because one student had written his name differently on his immigration forms compared to the way it was written on his passport, they wouldn't let him on the plane. So essentially, this is a very simple, very basic, very practical piece of information for you to learn, and this is something that you should use from now on whenever you write your English assignments. Please always use your English style name. Now, names are very important, and of course your name is very important, but we're not trying to change your name. All we're doing is we're just changing it and making it the way that you would write it in English is all. So essentially, you should always introduce yourself. So for example, in an interview, you should be able to give your name very clearly, but in an English interview, you should be able to do it English style. Okay, so today what we're going to start with is to discuss your English style name. So the first question I have for you is, do names change? So of course the answer is no, they don't. So then this next question is, what tense should we use for names then? So because names don't change, we use present tense, 现在时间, which means that, so I'm now moved on to slide 3 for the PowerPoint. So English style names are opposite to Korean. They're the same name, okay? We have, family names and we have given names, but it's the position that is important. So English style names are opposite to Korean because, for example, if we take a look at the picture, we have a picture of Haha. And my next question, so I'm now on slide 4, is what is his real name? So in Korean style, his real name is Ha Dong-hun. So in English, what we do is we switch. So if we take the given name, Dong-hun, and the family name, Ha. So in Korean, we say Ha Dong-hun. In English, we switch it. So we say Dong-hun Ha, okay? So essentially what's different is that in Korean, the family name comes first, but in English, the family name comes last. So sometimes, actually quite often, in English, people will ask you what your last name is. And what that means is, what is your family name? Okay, it's the identical. Family name and last name are the same in English. But this is why it can be confusing. So I've now moved on to slide 5. So in English, his name is Dong-hun Ha, okay? Now, the first thing I want to ask you is, how can you see, actually with your eyes, that that is a name, okay? So in English, we use capital letters, or big letters, you can also say, or daemunja, to explain or to show what a name is. So his given name, the name that was given to him by maybe by his parents, or maybe by his grandparents, or maybe even a fortune teller, is Dong-hun. And his family name is Ha. So these names don't change, so we use is. His nickname So his Byulmyeong is Haha because he's a comedian and he's very funny. And we could also say that his stage name is Haha. So what he uses for as a comedian on stage in the entertainment business, his name is Haha. So he has become famous for his stage name or his nickname. Now, again, I would like you to notice, please, that the given name in English is often called the first name because in English it's positioned first. The family name comes last, so it's also called the last name in English. So when you're filling in documents, you can see all of these words. But because in Korean the position is different, I think that for you in your classes and when you're talking to people, the best language to use would be given name and family name. So what I'd like to do next, I'm now moving on to slide 6, is to talk about titles. Now titles, actually we have two different meanings of the word. So the first point would be title as in what's the title of a book, okay, so Spectrum Language Arts. But in this case, we're using titles that are part of a name to show respect. So examples of titles that I've given you here are, we can use the short form, so capital M, small r, period, or jum, is for Mr., so it's short form for Mr. So you can see that comes from the first letter as M, the final letter is R. Mrs. is capital M, R, S with a jum as well. We use this to show a woman who's married. M, capital M-S with a period is pronounced Ms. And it's like I always think about the snack, midge black. And Ms. is for a woman, but it's when we don't know if she's married or not. So it's just polite. Miss with a capital M is for an unmarried woman. And we can use words like sir. Sir is a knight, a person who's been knighted, or it's a polite word for if you're trying to attract a man's attention and you don't know who he is. You just say, excuse me, sir, and it's very polite. Of course, we have titles like president and queen and professor. So usually when we use a title, we use the title with the family name or the title with the full name. Okay, so for example, I've given you Mr. Kim, or you could say President Moon, or Professor Dumbledore, or we could use it with the full names as well. So anyways, I've asked you some questions here about some famous people. So we have some different famous people, and I'd like you to notice as well that of course we're still using Daemunja, capital letters, to show their names. It doesn't matter if we're using them in English or Korean. It matters if we're using it. This is for English. We use Daemunja to show the name, but if you don't have a capital letter, it's not special and it's not a name. So again, we can vary to describe what type of name there are, given name, family name, stage name, nickname, to give more information. So what I'd like you to do is, and this is part of your assignment, which I'll discuss at the end of this video, is I would like you to write your name in English style. So remember, please use capital letters, Daemunja, for each name that you have been given. For example, I've given you here. So in Korean, if your name is Kim Ji-soo, then we would change the position and we would put the given name first, family name last. So I would put capital J-I, space, capital S-U, space, capital K-I-M. What I would like you to make sure to do, please, is every time in my class or in any situation where you have any English assignment, please use your English style name. I would also like you to use this in every English class from this day on, because it shows that you have very good skill and very good understanding. I'm going to move on now to interview skills, because what I'd like to talk about today basically is question types. So there are 3 question types I'm going to discuss in detail today. But I want to start first with some interview steps because it's important for us to think about interviews before we conduct them. And remember that even when you speak to your elementary school students in class, you are essentially interviewing them. So step one is to introduce yourself. So remember, you can introduce yourself by giving your given name and your family name. So for example, if I were to introduce myself, I would say hello. So you start with a greeting. And then I would say, my name is Sally Arkley. My given name is Sally, and my family name is Arkley. So it's very clear, everyone can understand very easily what my full name is, and that my given name is this, my family name is that. So the second point is to ask good questions. Okay, so the first point is to decide what kind of questions you want. So I've given you some different types of questions, which we're going to go into detail in a minute. You need to decide if you want open or closed questions, or direct questions, indirect questions, or tag questions. And then, of course, the next step is you need to listen to the answers that are given to you. And then you need to react. Now, traditionally, the best ways to react are either to, wow, really? That's awesome. Or to ask another question, which is an excellent way to continue a conversation. I am now moving on to slide 11. So in slide 11, I'm giving you the two basic groups of questions. So the reason why I want to do this is because the most important point about anything you do in university is to learn. Because, as Sir Francis Bacon's pointed out here, knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more powerful you are. So the first type of question that I want you to understand is a closed question. So a closed question, and I usually just use a fist for when I'm teaching elementary school students, because elementary school students tend to be very, they really like body movement. So then once they start to, it's a good hint. You can just close your hand and it means it's a closed question. So a closed question begins with a verb. For example, do you, and the answers, you have three choices. Yes, no, or I don't know. The second type of question that I wanted to discuss is an open question. So open questions begin with the 5 W's. And again, for elementary school students, I use hand signals. And then we can move on to the verb. So if we use the same do you principle, same question frame, then we would say, what do you like? Or what music do you like? Something like that. So we start with the W. Now, in this case, and this is why listening is really important, is if your question starts with a W, you cannot answer yes or no, because it sounds crazy. But you can answer anything else. So I'll give you an example. So if I say, what music do you like? And you say, yes. It sounds very, very strange. So please remember to listen for questions as well. So if someone starts with a W or an H, somebody says, what, who, what, where, when, why, or a how question, you cannot answer yes or no. Okay? Next. Now, this is the reason why I'm discussing this is because I know logically you know this. But the difficulty is when we're speaking, often because it's much faster, we don't remember. Okay? So the important point about this is to try, and when you're listening, practice your listening skills, listen for the questions. What's the first word in the question? If it's a verb, you answer yes or no, and the verb, match the verb. You hear the verb, say the verb. If the question starts with a W or an H, you cannot answer yes or no. Anyways, I'm now moved on to slide 12. So I'm going to give you, I'm going to explain about statements and about 3 question types, okay? So first of all, a statement is not a question. So a statement ends with a period, with a jump. For example, and these are things that we know are fact. We know these things are true. For example, I am a teacher. You are a student. Okay, so we know these are true. We can also use open or closed questions in this case. Part 2 is indirect questions, okay? And so, the second question type are indirect questions. For these, we use open questions. Now, these are more formal questions. So if you want to be polite, these are the questions to ask. So anytime that, for example, if you're in an English interview, these questions show your vocabulary level is high and your understanding is high. Or this could be something that someone gave you information already and you feel a little bit embarrassed that you don't remember. So if you don't remember information someone has given you, or you want to be formal and very polite, we use these for open questions. So what we do is we start with, could you tell me? Or do you know? And then we add the second part of the question. Could you tell me what your name is? Or do you know how old he is? The third type of question is a tag question. So usually this is a statement, okay, so a factual statement, but we add at the end of the statement, we put a comma and we add a closed question. So for example, if I think I know some information, this is when I use a tag question. For example, I think your name is Jisoo Kim. I say, you are Jisoo Kim, aren't you? And then I add the tag question because I'm just checking to see if I am actually correct. So in slide 13, I'm going to give you some more careful instructions about each of these questions. So the first type of question is the direct questions. So this is quite simply with the open questions when we start with the W and then the verb is next, okay? So who do you live with? Or who is he? Okay? The answer cannot be yes or no. I mean, think about it. You know, if I say, who is he? And you say, no. You know, it's very strange. The other type of question, of course, is the closed question. And this is the one that starts with the verb. And we're looking for a yes-no answer. So we say, is he Chanyeong Park? Then we say, yes, he is, or no, he isn't. Now, if you want to give a very short answer, a very brief answer, many students want to just say yes or no, but actually that's not very good grammar, and it's not useful for your future students because really not too many students like to study grammar. So the best way to help your students is by example. So if you lead by example, you can show them, is he Chanyeong Park? Then you answer, he is, or he isn't. So that implies the yes or no, but it also gives the grammar, which would help your students the most. Okay, the second type of question again is an indirect question. I've now moved on to slide 14. So this is formal and polite and is used with open questions. So you start at the beginning, you add, could you tell me? Or do you know? Okay, so that's right at the beginning of the question. Now, what happens here and what shows your skill is the verb comes at the end of the question, okay? It comes after the subject or the pronoun. So, could you tell me what your name is? So, is comes at the end instead of in the regular open question, what is your name, okay? So, the idea is, if you choose to use do you know, that shows, that implies I do not know. So for example, if I say, do you know what his name is? It means I don't know, and I'm asking you for your help, asking if you do know. So I'm going to move on now to the third type of question, again with examples. So this again is the tag questions, and I'm on slide 15. So remember again, a tag question is used when I think it's true. So maybe I'm 90% sure I am correct. So in this case, again, we use a statement, and then we have a comma at the end of the statement. with a negative closed question, okay? So the key to this is just match the verbs. So if I say, he is nice, my verb choice is, so then the tag question would also be is, but negative. So I say, he is nice, isn't he? So in your assignment, I've given you 3. Be careful with the third example. And I'm going to move on now to slide 16, and slides 17 and 18, 19 are all from your assignment. Okay, so if you go to your assignment sheet, it's not particularly difficult, and I don't think it will take you very long, but it's really important for you to know these things. It's very practical and useful. So of course, the final step in any interview, once you've decided on your questions, you've gotten the answers that you want, is to react. Okay, I've noticed that a lot of students, because they're speaking a different language, they fail to react. But of course, for your interviewee, the person that you're interviewing, if they don't react, they don't speak after you've answered the question, you feel like they are not listening to you, or perhaps they don't care. But of course, we don't want to be giving that feeling. So when your partner reacts, I'm on slide 16. When your partner answers a question, you need to react to show that you're listening. So you have 2 choices. I recommend ask a question. Okay, you can ask a question about what your partner has answered, or you can simply react to, a positive, wow, or if they told you a negative, something bad that happened, then go, oh no, but the point is to show that you are listening. So anyways, quiz number 1, I would like you please to match the numbers and the letters. Be careful, it's not as easy as you think. Quiz number 2 is to match the numbers again with the letters. And again, you should have your week 2 assignment submitted to this week. You can submit to the GNUA website, because I think I finally figured it out. I'm sorry, because I'm not very good at computers, but I'm trying. But anyways, your week 2 assignment I've uploaded as a separate file. So what I'd like you to do, please, is just submit the answers. I don't need the questions because I made the questions. Please do be very, very careful, because, we've got a lot of recent outbreaks of coronavirus. So please do your best to stay masked. And the most important thing is wash your hands. Okay, try to stay away from busy areas. I hope you all stay safe, and see you next week. Bye-bye.